So it was in February, I believe, of 1988. They shot this movie right here in Downey for about 19 days. And there's nobody else that has this kind of insight into being Karen Carpenter as this woman right here. And I think she has, over the years, really studied a lot about Karen, not only for the preparation for the movie, but I think afterward to find out, what really happened. And I think you'll enjoy hearing what insight she brings to the documentary when you see the full thing. So let's talk about the casting process for the Karen Carpenter story. How did you come to play Karen in this TV movie of the week?
Well, first I have to correct. Randy, the real star, is Karen, and Richard is and was a musical prodigy from his youngest years, and really their duo and the way they supported each other made that music. I just was blessed and honored to have the opportunity to be a little part of their life and legacy, I suppose, now. The casting process was not as typical as most made-for-television movies were done back in the 80s. Usually, a casting director sends out a casting call, an agent makes a bunch of submissions, and the casting director decides who they're going to bring in, and you read, and if you're lucky, you get a call back, and blah, blah, blah. And in this particular case, I don't know how long the casting process had been going on before I was discussed, but my first meeting was with Richard. So I suppose I had been vetted already, because I don't recall reading or singing for him. I just remember going to his office and having a meeting with him, and after that being cast. You'd have to ask him why they chose me. I have no idea.
Did you know much about the Carpenters' story or their music before then?
Nothing, other than the top 10 hits, probably, that, of course, were on the radio. Back then, we didn't stream music. You had your car radio and the radio in the kitchen when you're getting ready for school, and so, of course, and the Christmas songs that were always playing. So I only knew the hits, and I didn't know anything about them. I don't even think I suppose at a certain point I knew she had died of complications of anorexia nervosa. I grew up with a mother who was a ballerina, and I was surrounded by eating disorders my whole life, so I suppose I was aware of that, but I really did not know until I read the script. I didn't know the story of their lives at all.
The research and preparation for playing a real person was probably different from other roles. The songs alone had to be a huge undertaking, and had you done any lip syncing before this? And by the way, the sync was a little bit off tonight. She was really spot on in the movie. The sync was slightly off, so just let's give some grace.
The sync was really, really off with the dialogue as well. So I had done the series Fame, and although we had recorded our own vocals in the recording studio, we always had to lip sync to them. So you recorded your songs, and then you went back in to do the dance, number or whatever, and you'd be singing to it, and you'd have to memorize your own song. You think of course you'd memorize your own song, but I mean, when you lip sync, you actually have to be singing it exactly the way it's sung, where the audience can tell the level, the intensity, the vibrato, where the breaths are, all of that. The audience can tell. You're not mouthing it. You're actually singing out loud. So the preparation was really daunting, honestly. I can't remember exactly how many songs there were, but it was 20-something that I had to memorize, and I really didn't know any of them from start to finish. I might have known a few choruses, but not verses, certainly. And then spanning someone over the course of 20 years, from the age of 12 to 32, and to also have to track her emotional journey and then the physical decline was really huge. And for those of you who are in the industry, you'll know we don't shoot in sequence. You don't shoot in order. So on any given day, I could be in 10 different years of her life and in different stages of her disease. So I actually made a map. Nobody taught me how to do this. I don't know if it's ever been done before, but I had columns from left to right. Am I going on too long?
No, this is what we want.
So the page number and the scene number and the location on the left. And then how old Karen was, where they were in their music, where they were in their career, where she was in her disease, and where she was in her emotional disorder. And then, so therefore, how tired was she? How sick was she? How weak was she? So because we had no time, so it was just like, all right, now we're doing scene 13. So it's like, oh, where is she in scene 13? And I had it on a chart, so I could just kind of pop. And then, of course, we had the wig change and the wardrobe change. But it all just had to happen really fast, so there was no time to like try to figure it out on the day. I had to have it on a map before we ever started shooting.
And Karen wasn't just a singer, she was a drummer, so that had to add an extra challenge.
Oh my God, I've studied music my whole life. Playing the drums is not like playing the piano or the violin. It is so hard. And I actually was pretty amazed that I actually got like one fill right in this whole thing. I'm like, oh my God, because all I can remember knowing how to do, because I had to learn how to do that too in like 2 weeks. All I remember being able to do, I'm wearing a little dress here, is this. That's it. All those. They had to cut away to someone else during those.
You were already a tiny person, but what physical transformation was necessary to play Karen?
I had to fit in her clothes. So I wore everything fit by the time we shot, except for that one white dress that comes up to here. And I remember it opened on this side, and they had to shoot me from this side because the snaps wouldn't close. But I got down to about 100, 103. But she, of course, was about 89 pounds when she fit into those clothes.
Okay, we have to talk about those wigs. This is Cynthia's favorite part.
It was very frustrating. I mean, this was not a $100 million budgeted movie, and Mitchell, who played Richard, and I both had at least 20 different wigs that we had to wear, and they didn't buy the real ones, the handmade ones made from real hair that weigh nothing. They were like these helmets, and they couldn't even get like 20 in a size small. In some cases, they ran out, so I had some size larges, and they'd have to kind of cinch them in the back, and I just felt like I had a helmet on my head all the time. It was kind of mortifying, actually.
You filmed a lot of the movie right here in Downey, and what was it like to shoot in their homes, ride in their cars, wear Karen's clothing, and so on?
Yeah, that was really odd. It's never happened before or since to me that there's been that level of authenticity, and it was strange. There were several occasions when I felt like Karen was there. I know that might sound kind of woo-woo, but one was at A&M Studios, and one was during that, what I talked about in the documentary, when I was touching her clothes. It felt like she was there. And I know Mitchell felt that way too a couple times. Shooting in their house, the Carpenters were very gracious to have us in their home, and Richard was around. He was the producer. He was around every moment of every day. But it was creepy sometimes, or odd. The same paramedics that took Karen away were the ones that took me away in the first scene. And apparently that was a coincidence. Like, the production called Downey EMT to get, 2 people to come and be extras in the film, and it turned out, they told me while I was on the gurney that they were the ones that had taken her away. So there were some really, I don't know if you believe in coincidences or not, but there were some really strange coincidences.
So she was texting Mitchell Anderson just a little while ago and saying, Richard, this is Karen. But so your on-screen Richard was Mitchell Anderson. But you both worked with the real Richard Carpenter, who you just mentioned, as executive producer. Mm-hmm. And you kind of already answered this, but how involved was he on a day-to-day production level? You want to tell us more about Richard's involvement in even the script changes and things we talked about in the documentary?
He was incredibly helpful to me because he would correct my behavior, not in a critical way. I mean, he just would say, "Oh, she wouldn't hold the mic like that. She'd hold the mic like this," or "She wouldn't laugh here. But she'd laugh at that." Or, I mean, it was very insightful, which was helpful. But he also, I believe the family, whether it was just Richard or the entire family, got uncomfortable once we were filming, and we didn't film the script that was originally presented to me. There were a lot of scenes that were cut or whitewashed. The whole marriage, her marriage and her divorce, became a montage. The scenes and the real reasons for the marriage falling apart, that was all whitewashed and scrubbed. So again, you'd have to ask Richard how much why they changed what they did, but the family absolutely was in control of how much we showed the world.
I won't be asking Richard that. But I know you were apprehensive about the movie when it first came out. You were nervous about it and even sort of ran away to hide when it aired. So tell us about that and the actual then response to the airing of the movie.
Why did you run away?
I don't like watching myself. I can watch this now. How many years is this now?
More than 30.
Yeah, I can watch it now, and it's kind of like watching home movies. But I can't watch my own work comfortably. And I was really worried that we would be ridiculed. I mean, the wigs, I just kept thinking, they look so silly. How can anybody take this seriously? But of course, I didn't see the final. I didn't see anything. We shoot it, and then we go home. We don't see what the editor has done with it until it airs. So I went to Vermont to my grandparents' farm, and I watched it on a little black and white screen about this big. I was really afraid of everybody, of the world seeing it. But then I came home, found out that it had broken ratings records for CBS. So I wasn't quite as embarrassed anymore about it.
And she's told me this before, but she was told by CBS that it was Super Bowl numbers, something like the 30-something million people that watched it. So it was one of the biggest TV movies of the year. And I know I wore out several VHS tapes of that. And again, thank you. So it's been more than 30 years since the TV movie premiered. What does it mean to you to be so closely associated with Karen's memory and her legacy?
Oh God, I don't know that anybody thinks about me when they think about Karen, but it does make me really happy that their music still shows up all over the place. And my husband sings it on a regular basis, so it's in my house all the time. And Christmas time in particular, all her Christmas music plays all the time. And so I just, I look up sometimes and give her a wink and say, "You're still here. Everybody still loves you."
All right, do we have enough time to take a few audience questions? All right, so right over here, sir.
Yeah, first time I've seen the movie, I got a little goosebump moment when I watched the credits. Barry Morrow, who wrote it. He also lived and wrote the movie Bill. I worked for Alan Lansford Production.
Oh, you did?
I streamed that movie many a time on
Wow.
35 millimeter. And so I'm cursed with the ability to see sync.
He's saying that he worked with Barry Morrow, who
I worked directly.
who wrote the screenplay.
Who wrote the screenplay for Bill, and I worked for the company in post-production, and so I dealt with films.
Okay. Yeah, the TV movie Bill, starring Mickey Rooney, was another one that Barry Morrow had written.
Dennis Quaid was bad.
All right. Well, cool. Any question for Cynthia, or just a comment?
I would just, you get one of those things.
It is pretty cool. Yeah, you associate it with things.
What was your age when you filmed the movie?
What was your age when you filmed the movie? This was in February of '88.
I have to do the math. I was 25?
I think you told me 24 one time, 25.
I don't know. I was born in December of '63, so do the math.
I told her and Lee earlier tonight that they are the hottest grandparents that I've ever seen. Okay, yes, Robert.
So I'm surprised to hear that it was shot in February, given that it didn't air until January the 1st.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, obviously, Richard and his mother saw it. Harold died in late '88. I wonder if he saw an early cut of the film.
I don't know, honestly, and I don't know.
I don't know if Agnes saw it. I mean, Richard might have kept it from her. He was very sensitive to her looking bad in the film, and so that I don't know this for a fact, but that's probably what led to the rewrites and the whitewashing that happened. He was trying to protect her, I think. So I please don't quote me. It's not fact. That's my instinct on it.
Yeah, and the question was that delay, I guess, between having filmed it in February and then it didn't come out till January of the following year. Yes. Hi.
Yeah.
Hi, Cynthia. I'm your fan since I was 9 years old.
Oh.
I'm from Mexico City, and I'm now 39 years old.
Oh my
And
goodness.
yes, and I want to ask you what is your favorite scene from the movie?
What is your favorite scene from the movie?
I think the one where she finally comes out from behind the drums, and they're doing the sound check, and that's where they say she really should be out in front. That was a really fun scene to shoot. It was lighthearted, and I think that's my favorite, was to shoot and is to watch.
Thank you.
Were you seeing someone?
Somebody in the way back out there.
Laura.
What is your favorite Carpenter song?
What is your favorite Carpenter's song?
Oh my God, I don't know. All the ones that my husband was singing out loud to, those are all really good ones.
Maybe we should ask him.
For all we know.
Song for you.
Song
What?
for you.
A song for you?
Yeah,
Song for you.
twice.
I honestly I can't choose. There's so many that I love.
So you're one of us now.
I'm the original.
All right, a couple other questions. Kathy, over here.
Thank you, Randy. Just curious, besides the location filming at the Newville house, I understand that you probably don't remember the location of the house that was used for the first home, the Fiddler house.
The old house when they first moved.
It was another house. in
Unloading
Downey, I believe.
the
I think it was down here, meaning down in Downey. The crew, most of us were based, in Los Angeles, north of here, and we would drive down every day. And I recall spending most of that month down here.
Do you remember any other locations?
I can answer that question.
Great.
Who's that? Oh,
It was their Lubeck house. It was their home in Downey that they bought, and they went to J.C. Penney's and bought the entire household of furniture, and it was on Lubeck.
But the house for the fiddler, for the other, for the
Before
first
they
one.
moved to Rebel Air.
Well, that was Richard's home. Yeah, this is the. I think she was asking about the one on Fiddler Street.
Yeah.
The one on Fiddler Street when they first came to Downey.
Torn down by that time.
It's been torn down by the freeway came through there. I remember Evelyn saying one time, Evelyn Wallace saying that they picked another house in the same neighborhood that looked similar, and they just went with that. They found somebody that would let them shoot there. So I think it was in Downey, but I haven't ever seen the address or anything for that one. And yes, then Richard's house that they shared together for a while on Lubick Street was also in the film.
And that was it. The park scene was not filmed in Downey. I don't care.
Which park scene?
The-
When they're
the-
young? When they do
Yeah,
the
first
music festival?
performance, yes.
Oh, I'm not sure. Oh my
Just curious.
God. No, I remember shooting, and I correct myself, we didn't spend an entire month down here because there were a lot of scenes that were shot up in Los Angeles. Her condo, I believe, was in Century City, wasn't it? And then that other scene where she meets her husband is in, I believe, the Marina Del Rey. So we were up more in the Los Angeles area for those kind of things, and of course we were on the lot at A&M Records. And Herb Alpert came to see us when we were shooting, which was very nice. Give us his blessing.
Thank you.
All right, Chip, right here in front.
Who sang the early version of End of the World in the beginning of the film? That was you? Okay.
Yeah.
I asked her as the hospital scene was happening at the beginning, I said, did you sing the Karen, that's going on in the background there? And she said she thinks she did.
I think I did. I mean, I was supposed to sound young, right? I mean, that's the other thing about aging 20 years. I made a deliberate choice to speak and sing in my upper register as 12 and 14, whatever year old, until she finds her alto, velvety, low voice, and then I tried to lower my speaking voice as much as I could, but to the extent I could age myself vocally, I did.
All right, yes, Ron.
I was wondering, we don't hear much from Mitchell. If you could speak for him, how does he feel about the experience, especially nowadays, looking back on it? What kind of memories does he have?
Mitchell Anderson, the actor who played Richard, memories that he has shared maybe with you or that you guys have kept in touch over the years?
We definitely have stayed in touch. He's my brother, he's my brother always and forever. And yes, I did just text him and I said, Richard, it's Karen. I'm in Downey. Where are you? He just did. I can't speak to his opinion about the Carpenters. I know this was a huge break for him. I think this was his first really big break as an actor, and that meant a lot to him. And I saw new things tonight in his performance that I hadn't seen before. I mean, he had to learn how to sync the piano. And Richard is a virtuoso. So, I mean, just even those roles that he was doing and stuff, that was what he had a few weeks to learn how to do. He just did a one-man show about his whole life that was wonderful, acting and singing it. So, and it's called Better Call Your Mama. Better Call Your Mother? Better Call Your Mama? You remember which it is? Anyway, if you ever have a chance to see it, it's wonderful.
And I got to meet, I was going to say Richard, I got to meet Mitchell in Atlanta. Does he still have his restaurant? Mm-hmm. Okay, he's a chef and still acting, and he's just an amazing guy. I got to meet him in Atlanta back when my book came out. He came to a book launch party and signed autographs and everything. It was really fun to get to meet him as well. All right, another couple of questions here. Jeffrey?
You mentioned the chart, the map that you made, and I was wondering why did you even have to do that? Wasn't there somebody who was looking after the continuity of the film itself? Because there are so many examples where things are like posters and logos are out of sync with the whole time continuum of the story.
So was there anyone doing the continuity part of this project so that Cynthia wouldn't have to be doing that herself?
That, and also, did you keep your maps?
Did you keep your map?
There is always a continuity person on set trying to keep track, and people know that the simple stuff like, oh, the glass had more water in it in the last shot. Continuity people do way, way, way more than that. They're responsible for a lot more than that. And so it's just a really tough job. And there are always continuity things that people can pull out, continuity mistakes that somebody could pull out. But no, it's the actor's job to research their character and delve into it as deeply as they must. I mean, the continuities person is to just say, oh, hey, it's December of 1979, and it's 6 p.m., so make sure that clock says 6 p.m. and your characters are wearing warm clothes. It's my job to know how sick Karen is in that day, in that year, in that month, and to portray it. And her relationships. Is she married? Is she not married? Is she, is she heartbroken? Is she not heartbroken? Are she and Richard getting along? Or are they not getting along? All of that's on the actor.
I think, too, that they probably never expected that us Carpenters fans would be picking it apart, like detailed, like, that's the wrong year, or, she wasn't wearing that kind of thing. So they probably just thought this would be a one-time airing, it's gonna screen and nobody's gonna be sitting looking for the things that we do 30 years later on a big screen in Downey. Yes, Peter.
Well, I know, as you were saying, with the photo history that I do and all the photos that I have, thousands at this point, I can kind of tell exactly when I'm watching this movie now, kind of what she was wearing at that time, and I saw a lot of the same outfits that I have photos of her in. But it doesn't bother me one bit. The movie is what it is. It was, as Randy says, you were my first Karen. And in 1989, watching that movie, who I didn't even know who the Carpenters were at that point. We were at my family's cabin watching it. We only had 2 channels, and this was the made-for-TV movie. And it was just life-changing to actually, hear that voice and to see it on the big screen tonight compared to how I've always watched it, and to hear the vocals. Didn't matter. Doesn't matter if there's a Made in America poster that's in 1972, or Karen was wearing her wedding dress rehearsal at the marina when she met Tom, or any of that. Doesn't matter. It's just phenomenal. So I don't choose to pick and stuff, and I can because I know all of this stuff.
He does, absolutely. I can't repeat all that. Andy said, be sure and repeat the questions. I can't repeat all that, but yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. I think, let's do one more question. One more question. Where do we want to go? Right up here.
Did many actors get to take home something or take home without them knowing it? I know most of it was owned by Richard. Did you get anything, even a wig, helmet wig, or anything?
Did you get to take home a helmet wig or any other souvenirs from this film?
Nothing. I took nothing. I didn't ask to. I often will ask, or I'll buy the clothes. Sometimes I can even keep the clothes from a job. In this one, no, I just took the experience, and that was enough. They were all her clothes. Her family kept her room exactly as it was the day she died. Everything, the stuffed animals, everything is exactly as it was when she died. And I imagine they probably had everything, her clothes and her shoes and everything in a special place. They did the best to keep her alive in that way.
So once again, yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to make a point that we found out yesterday that they're going to be trying to turn her room into an Airbnb.
The actual room itself, not the whole house?
No.
So you can rent out the room possibly at some point. Now, some of you in here are already online looking for it, I know. Interesting, wow, okay. Well, I don't know if that's a good note to end on, but let's, once again, thank you so much, Cynthia, for gracing us with your presence here tonight, and wow, thank you.